Nothing quite says powerless like Tetris on high speed, and it just won't give you a line piece. A central value of art is the transmission of emotion and ideas to a viewer, and games are no different. Games can present fun by creating fictitious and exaggerated scenarios, sure, but they can also present story and character moments in a far more immersive way than other mediums can achieve. One basic emotion that a game can transmit is the sense that a person is powerful, they have the ability to achieve their goals, or they don't. They are perhaps vulnerable. Games can achieve this in a number of ways, but they all come down to a player's sense of awareness and control in a situation. To begin, let's look at how some games have made players feel powerless. In my Tetris example from before, the only thing that changes over the course of the game is the speed of the pieces. Players can only get them into position so fast, so the increasing speed of the pieces can make a player panic. Such a player may be more prone to making mistakes as the speed continues to ramp up. They will see the pieces landing closer to the top of the screen before eventually game over. Timers and pacing in general can be a source of stress for a player because it may not be clear exactly how long a task will take, or exactly how much time is left. Several of the Mario games have the music speed up in the last minute of a level, but the player may not be able to see the end, or guess how long they need. The player can only hurry up and hope it's enough to reach the end in the 1 minute allowed. Similarly, there is a timer that appears in Portal just as the neurotoxin is activated. The player doesn't and couldn't know that it takes 3 rockets to defeat GLaDOS. Timers are really meaningless. The player can only hurry and hope it's enough. The timer only exists to create a sense of urgency. Now let's talk about Half-Life. There's a tradition in the series where each game has some point where the player loses all or most of their weapons. In the first game, it's when these 2 Marines leave us in a trash compactor. For the next couple levels, we will be recollecting our gear. Like any good FPS, each weapon in Half-Life is introduced one at a time so we can get an appreciation for its role. Now that they've been taken away, we are more vulnerable than before. We are also more aware of our vulnerability than we were before. These headcrabs leading into residue processing are a legitimate threat now. This is a strategy that games can use, dynamically adjusting the player's resources so the player feels powerful in some parts or worried in others. Games do not need to take away weapons to achieve this. They can also deprive the player of ammunition. Just seeing this number go down is enough to cause some concern. What do we do when there's none left? Now the player is forced to strategize and ration the ammo, so it also makes the game more interesting. The player should have some idea of how frequently they can expect ammo drops, otherwise they might avoid using certain weapons if the ammo is too rare. I rarely use the Tau Cannon or Gluon gun in Half-Life because I know there isn't much ammo for those. There's an idea in game design that the player's progression, increasing strength and ability, should match the narrative arc of the game's protagonist. As the player continues learning the controls, they will naturally get better at the game. At the same time, the apparent strength of the protagonist should also increase. When you first start in Minecraft, you might think that skeletons are difficult enemies, but once you discover how to make and use a shield, it gets easier. Before long, the most common enemies in Minecraft seem very easy. This technique comes with the added bonus of stronger narrative immersion. If it's done nicely, the player will sense that some levels are easier and others are a true challenge. The difficulty should ramp up with the player's skill and resources to maintain that fun zone. Remember that making a game challenging should not mean making it unfair. Unfairness is rarely good in a game. If the player fails, they should always have a good idea of what they did wrong so they can improve for next time. Horror games, for obvious reasons, have an interest in making the player feel anxious or afraid. This is typically done by limiting visibility or what the player can do about threats. Do You Copy is a favorite of mine. The player has a simple objective: get the lost camper to safety. The game also gives an indication of what they can do to impact the game world. Before the story gets started, we have a conversation with the other watchtower, and we are asked to use the radio and lights.
You there? Over. Good to hear, Tower 4. Kicking off for the night. Park's all yours. Over.
Yes! Okay. I see them. I'm gonna come to you. Thank you.
This is everything we can do in the game. Use the radio and lights to help the camper. Everything else is irrelevant. The creepy noises, the eyes looking at me from the trees, that door that doesn't open, it's all atmosphere. It isn't part of the game. At the very end of the game, the camper says this over the radio.
Where am I? Where did you send me? Because I just showed up to some empty tower. I already told you. This is not funny. I have had an extremely long night. So please, just tell me where you are. Show me where you are. I need to know that I am not alone out here.
If the player turns on the lights, they will die. But this far into the game, they should already know that the monster can mimic voices on the radio. The camper is already safe in the other tower, therefore turning on the lights only serves to tell the monster where they are.
Man, the lights in that thing are crazy bright, you know that? Thank you.
It is entirely fair for the game to throw this trick at the player. In this game, power comes from knowing the rules. Now let's move on to the moment that inspired this video. At the beginning of Half-Life 2's 12th chapter, all of the player's weapons are destroyed by this energy field. At this point, we aren't really sure what to expect. This is the end of the game, so perhaps we're expecting some big climactic battle. How are we supposed to fight the enemy now if we have no weapons? But there is one left. The field that took our other weapons has charged the gravity gun with this strange energy. It glows blue now. Previously, the gravity gun was used to solve puzzles or throw explosives. We know this isn't a very strong weapon, not like the SMG, pulse rifle, or shotgun. The player is probably expecting the next room to be a tense struggle to continue with this one tool. We move to the next room and quickly discover that the gravity gun can pick up and throw enemies from across the room like Darth Vader. Instead of a punishing fight we expected, we are treated to an almost comedic display of the game's physics engine. It is unexpected and it is fun. Now the player feels powerful. The video is over now, thanks for watching, but wait, because if you're watching on a Monday or a Thursday, I might be live streaming soon. Go to twitch.tv/pseudological to watch. I usually stream at about 7 PM Central Time. There's also a Discord link in the description. Like, comment, subscribe, and ring the bell to tell YouTube that you liked this video. Or, if you didn't like this video, you can comment and tell me why.